Shalom, Mishpacha. Shalom, family. Mishpacha is a Hebrew word. It means family. And we're the Mishpacha, the family with a Jewish heart, made up of Jewish and non-Jewish people, where the middle wall of separation has finally come down to form one new man. Getting ready, Mishpacha, to blow the grandest shofar, the grandest trumpet in Zion. We want everyone, everywhere, to hear the good news. We want everyone, everywhere, to be red hot for the Messiah. My guest, Dr. Renny Mclean, and all I have to say, Renny, is, what are you hearing?
I just, as you just did that introduction alone, Sid, I just saw a miracle happen in the spirit. I saw somebody in a hospital, and I saw them on life support. This day is going to be marked by an incredible miracle. I see unusual miracles taking place today in this broadcast. I see somebody on life support coming off that bed. I see it. I see it. I see it. I see it. I hear faith alive today. Faith alive and faith unlimited. Oh, yes, sir.
Renny, tell me about the person that had, and this is almost unbelievable, except I know it's normal. Tell me about the person that had a prosthetic leg and it materialized into a real leg.
Well, this was 3 years ago in Miami. I was ministering in a small Pentecostal church, and we had 3 weeks of signs, wonders, and miracles. No, 2 weeks of it. And I was ready to go after 2 weeks, And I was driving down to get my last drive to the beach. And so on my way down there, now the pastor calls me and says to me, Dr. Renny, you can't leave yet. I said, well, why? He said, you never heard what happened? I said, no. And let me just bring you up to speed with that. The reason why I said it, no, because when we closed the night before, I didn't pray for the sick. The last thing I remember saying from the platform was this. The worship was high. It was really wonderful. And I made this statement. And this is what I said. And I'm telling you, people are going to have to hear this real slowly. I said, the only part of your mind that works with your faith is your imagination, because there is no law there. Ooh,
well, that is powerful.
Oh, yeah. And I said, you never see miracles in the terms of reason, because reason by nature denies miracles. So I said, you're going to have to lose reason to step into your imagination, because in your imagination there's no wall, but in your reason there is. And I made that statement, and I walked off the platform. And said, a woman was in the meeting, an Hispanic lady sat there in the meeting, and she was worshiping the Lord, didn't feel nothing or nothing better or any different. But she was just worshiping the Lord, and nobody knew the woman. She went home. And after she went home, this was what had happened. She went home that night just worshiping the Lord. And she went to bed, the way she'd normally go to bed. And then when she woke up in the morning and she felt her leg, it was no longer hard. She felt flesh. Now, don't ask me to explain that happened.
I'll tell you something. We're coming into that time where what you're describing is going to be normal.
Now, I have to admit, Sid, I've seen all kinds of things. Teeth growing, gold teeth. I mean, that's old to me. That's not even new. I mean, I think it's good and wonderful. But I tell you the honest truth, Sid, if you hear me say that shocked me, because I had never seen a whole limb before. I'd never seen a whole limb before. And because of that miracle, it kept us there another week. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Now, I believe that when we see certain miracles that's far and few between, I believe that they're foretastes of the greater realm that's coming.
And what do you see by the Spirit happening in 2011?
I see a turn coming to God's people. I see a turn. I see access being granted to realms that we had not walked in before. And it's going to be sovereign. People of God, for some people, it's literally just going to be where God just sovereignly does it. It's just, God's going to just sovereignly do it. But there is coming a turnaround for God's people. There's a real turnaround for God's people. I really believe that there is the spirit of His grace Oh, thank you, Father. There is the Spirit of His grace being poured out on His people right now, in that we are coming out of the recession, as people call recession. Now, I'm speaking this to the people of God.
Right. Like the United States may not come out of it, but we're coming out of it. Is that what you're saying?
We are coming out of it, Sid, and I'll tell you why we're coming out of it. Because God's raised you up, and that's why I got to speak a little bit about you, Sid. Sid, God has raised you up, and your significance is more prophetic than you realize. And I'll tell you why I say this. Because being that you're Jewish and I'm Jewish, the Jews of God, the children of Israel, understand covenant. They rejected the kingdom, but they know covenant, and they kept covenant. Isn't that interesting? The church understands kingdom, but don't know covenant. And what we're seeing is that when that's why you say, remember what the Lord's raised you up to bring, the one new man together?
Yes.
When that hits in the church and it fully explodes, I believe the prosperity that the church should have, that what Israel has, I believe the church will have. So we're living in...
So that reminds me, since it's Passover week, what did the Jewish people leave with when they left as slaves from Egypt? It made no sense at all, but they left with the wealth of the kingdom.
Oh, my God. But see, it goes back to that prophetic time. The portal was open. See what I'm trying to say? I tell you, this thing is real. If we could get your partner, Sid, to give special gifts during this time frame when that portal is open, do you have any idea what God's going to do for him?
If the portal is open, nothing is impossible.
Oh, nothing is impossible. But
I mean, you're able, when the portal is open with the glory, you can speak into it, and it comes in the natural realm.
Oh, totally. It comes in the natural realm. So God is looking for his people to show up at these appointments to meet him there. I mean, my God, there is so many things that is tied to this. I really believe it. I mean that this is resurrection, that this is Passover. Oh, we've got to really understand that.
But it's also resurrection too.
Yeah, it's also resurrection too. And so God's people have got to understand it's a time of blessing. It's a time of miracles, but it's a time of blessing. It's a time of prosperity. For us to deny the prosperity, we're denying the reign of God. We got to come where we understand the significance of the blessing. And that's why I'm saying, Sid, I mean, it is so significant right now, what God's having you to do. It's just so significant. It really is. Because right now, the earth is in recession, but God's not in recession. I keep saying his name is El Shaddai, not El Poro. And when we understand that, and heaven, and God's not broke, and he's not filed bankruptcy, the best is yet to come. But the portal is open. And the people of God need to step out by faith today and receive the blessing of God. Oh, my God. My goodness. Could you imagine that? Sid, I know you can see this because I know you're a prophetic man. Can you imagine when the portal is open of its own accord, but it's looking for a gift? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That speaks to the rest of the year for you. Oh, my God. And that was part of the former rain. And imagine, dispensationally, we're the latter rain. And if Israel left with the wealth of Egypt under the former, then what's the latter rain going to be when the church understands the glory of the latter house?
Real quick, because I'm interested, tell me the most unusual story of what happened to you when you were translated.
Okay, one of the most unusual stories for me happened was when I was asked to go to Africa. I was asked to go to Africa by my mother in the Lord, by one of my mothers in the Lord. Her name was C.M. Muir. She's dead now. And this was when I was a young man of 22 years of age. And she said to me, Renny, I want you to come with me to Kenya with me. And I really wanted to go, but not at that time because we just had our first child. And so now this was what happened. I said, well, if I get a sign from the Lord, Mom, I said, well, I'll go. And so I went to bed that night. And in the middle of my sleep, I was sleeping. I was sleeping, and then I came out of sleep, so to speak. And I was speaking in not an unknown tongue, And I knew it was an unknown because I know the difference between an unknown and a known tongue. And I was speaking in fluent Swahili. And while I was speaking Swahili, I remember being in places, and I saw people before me, and I saw myself with an interpreter next to me, and I would start in English but end up in Swahili, and the interpreter would step aside. And I saw myself praying for the people, and they were healed. I can remember the places because, it's just prophetic. I can remember as if it were yesterday. Well, the joke of it is when I went there 6 weeks later, which would have been the 10th of March, 1986, when I got there and they took me to places, they said, Brother McLean. I said, yes. I said, the Lord bless you. They said, what are you doing here again? I said, what do you mean? And they said, you were here several weeks ago. And that was almost 6 out of 10 places I went or had that testimony of me.
Recently I had that same thing happen to me. Has this happened many times to you, Renny?
It's happened 2 or 3 times to me, and I'm expecting it to happen even more.
Things are speeding up, as you explain in your book, Eternity Invading Time, and the CD, Open Windows to Heaven. But as I've been saying all this week, every sentence in this book, every sentence that Renny speaks on this CD is just a supernatural nugget. You'll chew on this for the rest of your life. It's so wonderful. And you'll be taught how to operate outside of time where the miracles manifest. We're making it available for a gift of $25. To hear this week's interview in its entirety, or to watch archives of our television show, It's Supernatural, visit our website at www.sidroth.org. That's www.sidroth.org. To receive a complimentary copy of our bi-monthly teaching newsletter, materials catalog, or information about becoming Mishpocha or Chalatzim, write to me, Sid Roth, Post Office Box 1918, Brunswick, Georgia, 31521, or call our order-only line, 1-800-447-2697. To place a credit card order, call anytime, 1-800-447-2697. For all other calls, the number is 912-265-2500. That's 912-265-2500. For a CD of this week's broadcast, send a donation of $10 or more to Sid Roth, that's SIDROTH, Post Office Box 1918, Brunswick, Georgia, 31521.